back. Candidates are getting informed right now on the procedures, and they're picking a number. The number is going to be a random number out of a lottery that the questions will be based on. I believe there's 18 to 20 questions in this forum, and the questions are going to be asked randomly. Questions will cover 5 particular topics: substance abuse, mental health, community, trades vocation, academic and college preparation. And there's at least 2 to 3 questions in each category. And again, the candidates are going to be giving questions random based on the number that they've just selected, 1 from 9. That'll help us get through the most questions in the hour. For the majority of the session, Philip is going to be the MC of the questions and the forums, and I'll be signing off at that time, being quiet. Let Philip do the MCing of the forum and the questions. And once we get started here, Savannah Morris of Socorro County Prevention Coalition will be presenting some of the data and the facts and figures for the Socorro schools here and schools in New Mexico. And once the 15-minute data presentation is over, then we will get into the forum. The forum will go for just about an hour, and then at the end of the forum for all the candidates to ask questions, answer a desired question, or make a closing statement. I'm your online host, Ranger Reese, here in the free state of Socorro. Philip.
Yes, sir.
What's your last name?
Smith.
And you have a title, you're just going to be the MC, right?
Moderator.
Moderator, okay. Smith, I can't misspell that one, can I?
I mean, some people do it with a Y, but they're weird, so I'm not weird.
Perfect. All right. One, you guys want to go ahead and get started?
As we mentioned, so the start.
All right, I'm Ranger Reese, your host here. Looks like the candidates are taking the table. 9 candidates, 3 positions. This is going to be quite an evening here. And then Philip. When Philip's ready, he'll give me a thumbs up. You ready? I'll turn the mic over to you.
Let's see what you're doing.
Are you ready for the mic to be turned over to you?
I think Savannah's starting this.
Okay. Savannah Morris is going to be the first to get started. And here's Savannah.
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with our school board candidate forum. First, we're going to go ahead and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, thank you everybody for taking your time out this evening. And can you guys hear me up front? No? Testing? Okay, thank you. My name is Savannah Morris, and I am the director of Socorro County Prevention Coalition, and our office is located at the hub, where Early Girls used to be, so we have a lot of nonprofits working with us. Juvenile Justice Board merged us, Scope Health Council, Farmers Market, and our Youth Suicide Prevention Grant. In partnership with REACE, with Rio Grande Valley Radio, and in New Mexico Tech with ASAP program. So they're our sister grant on campus. We do the community. And also I want to say thank you to our moderator, Philip Smith. He has helped us with our mayoral forum, our city council forum, and now our school board forum. So thank you. Our vision and our mission, we are a local grant that's funded through the state of New Mexico, and our fiscal agent is the city of Socorro. We've been funded since 2014, and our topics, we try to reduce underage drinking and reduce prescription drug misuse and abuse. Our order of events. So all of the questions that are here today, we had 18 questions. They were gathered through Facebook, through meetings, and through community input. We're going to have our candidates introduce themselves. I'm going to do a data presentation, and then we're going to do the questions, and then each candidate will have a closing. So our ground rules, all the candidates did receive the data in advance. They did not receive the questions. Questions are all been randomized. You guys will have a 2-minute introduction. No, a 1-minute introduction, 3 minutes to answer the question, and then at the closing, it will be 3 minutes. And at that point, you guys can answer any other questions. You have a notepad, pens, so you guys can take notes. When everybody else is talking, be respectful, don't interrupt. And we are streaming live on Facebook.
And YouTube.
And we are not taking any questions from the audience. Okay? So, start with introductions. It's not going to reach.
Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, community members of Socorro. My name is David Griego. I'm a lifelong member of our community. I was born and raised here, just as my parents were and my grandparents were. Some of you know me personally, and some of you don't. So I am a happily married man for 13 years. I have 4 children, 3 of which are adults. I have 1 child that is currently in our school, Madison, which we focus on quite a bit. I'm currently employed with New Mexico Tech. I was a former Head Start director here in Socorro. I'd like to throw a little shout out to my successor, Lindsay Lopez, over there. She is now the Head Start director. My most recent accomplishments are next month I'll be receiving my bachelor's degree in business administration. I am a national instructor for pit vehicle training that I implement in New Mexico Tech. What can I say? I love my town. I'm here for that purpose. I'm here for the purpose of our children. And when I say our children, I'm talking about all of our children. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, my name is Dave Hicks. Also born and raised here in Socorro, New Mexico. Some of you may know my mom, she taught here for years, Shirley Bress. So lots of family here. My business, I'm a New Mexico State University graduate. I've got a degree, I got 2 bachelor's degrees, 1 in economics and 1 in marketing. My business is agriculture. I do business from Canada, all inside the U.S., all the way down into Chile, Santiago, Chile, Peru, Mexico. One of the latest projects I did is I actually worked with the government of the Bahamas. I worked with the Prime Minister and did basically a reorganization of their entire ag sector. We went through it from head to toe and basically gave them a plan on how to grow agriculture, how to become more sustainable. This is an entire country plan, so that was one of the last projects I've done. I've got 4 kids. My oldest is a University of Kentucky graduate. My daughter, she is a captain in the Air Force right now. 2 granddaughters out of her, 3 kids still in high school, and I gotta quit. But thank you very much for all showing up. Candidates, all, thanks for being here.
My name is Adam Paz, born and raised here. I started at a Head Start, continued through all the elementary schools in Socorro. I graduated from Socorro High School. I attended Socorro Aim High for a little stretch before I graduated from high school. I have 4 kids, 2 graduated from Socorro High School, 2 that are, one a sophomore, one a freshman. I have 2 grandchildren, one in school, in elementary, and one that will be attending soon. Me and my son, we started a youth program last summer to try and reach out to the youth, try to keep them busy. And it was a success. We took it to basketball tournament. There was an AAU group basketball. It was about an 8th grade girls group. We went to a lot of tournaments. We had some tough games. We had some good games. We ended on a good note. We won New Mexico AA championships. And thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Arthur. I'm running for position 2, and I'm a father of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So my little guy is going to be starting in kindergarten next year. And I am a faculty member at New Mexico Tech. I've been here in Socorro for about the last 8 years. I came here for the job at New Mexico Tech. And so my day job, I actually am one of the people that's up blowing stuff up at Emertech and do a lot of work with high-speed fluid dynamics and high-speed imaging. I'm really interested in getting engaged here with the school district. I've been attending school board meetings for about the last 2 years, on and off with different things, and I'm really interested in getting the community involved and making some changes in our district and within the schools themselves. My background is that on campus at New Mexico Tech, I'm involved in a lot of the strategic planning efforts that the president has done and that the past president did. And through those strategic planning efforts, I've spent a lot of time working with the entire campus community, faculty, staff, and students to develop new initiatives for the campus community with better engagement within there. And I hope to translate that to the school board.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carlos Vega. I am running for re-election in position 2 for the school board. I've been on the school board for the past 4.5 years. I'm asking for 4 more years to try to keep on getting better. You can't do much in 4 years. I mean, we're getting there, but it's not going to happen. Married to Amanda Vega for 19 years. I got 2 beautiful daughters. All I can say is thank you guys for running. I know how hard it is. I appreciate you guys. Me and Mike have had some good times laughing around Tech. And I work at New Mexico Tech also. I'm going to do it before she throws that card up and tells me to stop. So if you could re-elect me, thank you.
Well, I'm Greg Gazelle. I was born in the state of New Mexico, and I've lived here for the last 29 years. I went to undergrads here at Tech. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics. I also have their MST, Master's of Science teaching degree. I taught for 36 years before I retired here 3 years ago. And in those 36 years, I coached different sports off in different places. I was here in the year 1998 working with Gilbert Peralta. The boys won a state title in basketball that year. I chose to live in this community 29 years ago, and I stayed. And it's because I love it here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Hamdi Solomon. I'm running position 3 as right end. I hope you remember my name. I'm a professor at New Mexico Tech Computer Science Department. I came to Tech 1989. This is 31 years old, 31 years by. And I'm married to a wonderful wife. As I said, she is a teacher in high school for the last 15 years, teacher of science. I have 3 wonderful boys grown up in Socorro and went through the school system in Socorro and through Tech, and they are very successful, thanks God, and 2 doctors and 1 computer science PhD. And I worked very hard for students along the 31 years advising and teaching. Also part of the consulting science program where I toured New Mexico to teach computer science to high school and mid-school kids. I also judged and chaired the senior science senior computer science for the Science and Engineering Fair to help students. And I really care about the community and the kids because I want to return the favor of growing such a great family in Socorro. Thank you very much.
Important this board is in our community. My name is Lindsay Lopez. I've lived in the community for about 5 years now, and I've become very passionate about serving our community. I have about 10 years of experience in leadership, as well as 15 years approximately in occupational therapy, which I was so lucky to have served our district, actually working in middle school and high school primarily. I work in the community practically 6 days a week with children and families. I serve as the director of the Socorro Head Start here, as well as I teach cultural dance and I assist with religious education. So I really enjoy servicing the children and families of our community. Most importantly, and what really primarily motivated me to run, is that I'm a mother of a child in our school district. She's 7 years old, my daughter, and my husband's name is Adrian Lopez. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. My name is JC Trujillo. I'll be on the ballot as Juan C. JC Trujillo. I'm running for position 3. I have 2 great, awesome kids, 14, a freshman at Socorro High School, 11, a 6th grader here at Sarricino Middle School. I have been a lifelong resident, born and raised here in Socorro. I began my career in technology and enterprise system networks, and then quickly moved over to finance and banking. From there, I in my current position at Positive Outcomes as the Chief Financial Officer, and I'm also the director of our new program, Family Support Services. I'm running for re-election. I've been on the board for 4 years, and like Carlos said, it takes a lot longer than 4 years to get the things accomplished that you need to get accomplished. But we really need to provide more opportunities to our students to succeed, and that's where we're at today. We really need to increase the achievement gap and the graduation rate, and I'm getting the red card, so I'm going to go ahead and sit down, but thank you again for coming.
Testing? Okay. Thank you all for being here. So the local data that we're going to be using tonight is we've collected in the schools every year for the last 4 years. It's called Strategy for Success. We go into all middle school and high school and charter schools and even Magdalena, but for today's presentation it's only Socorro. And then the New Mexico Community Survey for adults, we go out in the community. We've been doing that again since 2014, and our goal is to survey between 300 to 500 people in Socorro. We usually do both surveys in the spring, and for the community one, we give out $1. So please, if you see us in the spring, take our money and do our survey, please. And then state of the Department of Health data, national CDC data, and public education data. So alcohol use in New Mexico is among the highest in the nation. New Mexico is really high. We have an average of 1 to 5 deaths per Americans in New Mexico die from alcohol-related symptoms. So this is from our Strategies for Success survey, and this was done in the spring of 2019, so this is really, really recent. The blue is high school, red is middle school, and this is the percentage of use for e-cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol, binge drinking. E-cigarettes right now has become an epidemic. These devices use a liquid that contains dozens of chemicals. And recently it's been linked to 9 deaths in the United States and over 500 acute lung complications. Alcohol has been among the top used substance for youth for decades, and now marijuana is becoming really high as well. So here's the trend data from 2016 all the way to 2019. E-cigarettes went up really high in 2018, and then we did have a drop. Alcohol use has been pretty up and now stable. Marijuana use did come down a little bit, but now with the e-cigarettes, kids are actually smoking the marijuana liquid. It's called dabs, wax, and stuff like that. And so nowadays you can't even smell, it doesn't smell like regular marijuana. And they use, has anybody seen the vape pens? They look like highlighters, they look like USB drives. Teachers are having a really difficult time actually figuring out what these devices are. And so how do we compare to New Mexico and the United States? So for Socorro, again, this is our Strategies for Success data, and then we're comparing it to the YRRS, which is the Youth Resilience Survey. Socorro, 38.4% for e-cigarettes. New Mexico is 26, and the United States is 13. So we're really high compared to the United States. Alcohol, they're kind of, New Mexico and Socorro about the same, and we're actually a little lower than the United States. Marijuana use is lower in the United States, and Socorro is actually a little lower than New Mexico. So for marijuana, most kids actually smoke marijuana, and then 39% vape it. High school girls do report higher use than boys. Girls come in at 31%, and the number that we surveyed was 80 students. So the human brain does not fully develop until you're about 25 to 29. Adolescence is a time of dramatic changes in the brain structure and function. Since areas of the brain are not fully developed, substances use make those parts more sustainable to be altered. So some underage drinking consequences, using other drugs, poor academic performance and truancy, unplanned high-risk sex, poverty, crime, assault, violence, and drinking before the age of 13 is linked with higher likelihood of alcohol dependency and other consequences later in life. And so now we're going to kind of switch over to mental health concerns in the high school and middle school. So this graph shows high school and middle school. In the last 2 weeks, students who feel hopeless or sad, and if it's more than 2 weeks, it's also more linked to depression. So 35% of students in the high school felt sad or hopeless. Seriously considered suicide. Middle school and high school were actually about the same, 16.9%. and attempted suicide. Again, high school is at 11.3%, middle school is at 12.7%. And so these are just the students who actually admit it on the survey. Some kids don't, but these numbers are high. However, they have decreased since our last survey of 2018. So we continue to track mental health indicators and stigma towards behavioral health issues for youth with these surveys. And compared to last year, we did see a reduction in both the middle and high school students seriously considering suicide, and a reduction among middle school students attempting suicide. So that is good news. Out-of-school suspensions. The exclusion of students from school for disciplinary reasons are directly related to lower attendance rates, increased course failures, and can set a student on a path of disengagement from schools that will keep them from receiving a high school diploma and further their education and chances to get into college. A recent study in 2018 in Philadelphia schools also found that a student who gets suspended tends to do worse academically, especially in math and reading. Over-reliance of out-of-school suspension in the place of more effective alternatives is costly to our community and our schools. So the next couple of slides are from PED. So our graduation rate for Socorro for 2017 is 64%. And Denise Cannon did inform me that 2018 graduation rate was 74%, so they are going up. 2015 was 65%, 2016 70, 2017 64, and now 74. So there is an upward trend. And so again, this one's from PED. This is Socorro High School proficiency in reading and math. So in reading, 20% of students are proficient, and in math, 4% of students are proficient in math. And this is the trend since 2016. It does look like reading is going on a downward trend, and math, it's kind of stagnant.
A certain question or every question. So we have randomized who gets what question. And so we are going to go in the order of the questions. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
And so we will begin then with Carlos with the first question in round 1. After we complete all 9 questions of round 1, we will move to round 2. We will then do the same thing through round 2, and then we will follow in the randomized closing order of which you drew beforehand. Savannah has over here the time. She is keeping that. When she raises the yellow card, that's an indication that you have 1 minute left. When she raises the red card, that's wrap it up. We got to get going. Again, we appreciate that. With that starting, we are going to go ahead and begin with Carlos. So Carlos, your question is, how would you improve the religions in Socorro schools with New Mexico Tech here in the Socorro School District, improving dual enrollment and transfers for graduating high school students?
Well, for one thing, we'd like to, we've got great programs already with New Mexico Tech. We've got the match program that we have for third graders. that is New Mexico Tech is involved with. I think we need to get together as a board, get with Tech, the president and all the people there. We need to look at really not lowering the standards for our kids, but helping our kids get to that school. It's a great school. I walk around that school every day. Their enrollment has dropped significantly too. So, we'd like to see where we can work out a deal, to where we can get our kids to go there. Luckily, us Tech, as of right now, our kids get to go there for free. We need to look at something like we could do for our lifelong residents of Socorro. Have kids try to do something, some kind of tuition break or something there. And just keep on working with Tech to try to get programs for our kids to get through high school and get into the Tech program and get into school there. I think that would be great. We just need to work with everybody, get everybody involved. That's all I got.
Thank you, Carlos.
I got.
The second question is for Hamdi Soliman. I said your last name correct, right? What do you think our school district can do to support staff and students struggling with substance abuse and health issues?
The issue is sometimes we go to the symptoms, but we don't focus on the root of the problem. If we treat the symptoms, the illness is still there. I think it should start at the families by dedicating the parents. I grow 3 kids here in Socorro, and they went very fine because I was really educating them about the harms of the substance and stuff like that. I'm not saying they really be tough on them, but they educate them. Then it starts from the home. Home is the big issue. You start from the parents, because after that the kid will grow. Starting from the elementary school, you have to educate the kid that these things are very harmful and you need to stay away from it because you have a future. Another thing is to avoid the whole problem of substance and stuff. You need to have the kids with goals. If you insert a goal inside the child, I dreamt to be a professor since 1967, okay? And I became a professor because I have a goal. I faced many problems, many tough issues, but the goal was there. Then if you, as a parent, tell your kids about things, educate them early in a friendly way, okay? No harsh thing, friendly way. And then you plant a goal in them. And you give them examples of successful people, successful students. Give examples of others. And also watch who are their friends, okay? Then it starts from the home. Actually, we don't go to the system, we don't go upstairs. We start from the home. I think the whole issue starts from the home. Now we have a responsibility toward families which will not be able to or capable to do that. Then the community and somehow the school district and the schools themselves has to talk to parents and to educate parents. Workshops is in order. For those who cannot convey the message to their kids, then we get them in a workshop and we tell them what to do, how to deal with their kids. Now these are missing. And we are only talking about symptoms. We should get to the root of the problem and start handling it from the family, okay? I believe that if the kid grow in an environment which will be guiding him or her to do the right thing and with a goal to be big, aim high always in your goal, then I think they will do fine in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. The third question is for JC. JC, Socorro has trades and vocational classes. As a school board member, what action would you take to reverse this trend and restore workforce development programs to the school district?
Thank you. In the state and the increased funding that we're seeing, that is the first answer. We've got more funding that we can access at the state level now. In the past, I went through the budget cuts where a lot of programs were cut, and they were cut through attrition. Whether it was interest with students or we didn't have the teacher to fulfill it, but now we've got the ability to add those programs back. The next thing is community collaboration. We have to build on our community collaboration and work with our community partners. We have great plumbers in town, we have great electricians, we've got partnerships with Western New Mexico University and Valencia campus that are already in place, that are in place with our CTE program, and we need to grow our CTE program within the high school. Then we need to expand our CTE program down to the middle school level, and that has already begun. You have construction and home economics back in the middle school now, so we need to grow those and grow the students' interest.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. The fourth question is for Michael Hargather. Michael, what vision do you bring that will influence district policies, improving academic performance and student engagement?
So that's a great question, and is right on what I'm most interested in doing, which is thinking and implementing a strategic plan for across the whole district. I think that this is what we need to be looking not just day to day and not just what's going on this year. I think we need to be thinking about 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and from there on out. We have students that are starting every year. What's our plan to get them all the way to graduation? How do we have that plan, and almost can we tailor that plan to an individual student? I think we need continuity of vision. We have we do this in sports. At the football team at the high school runs a set of plays, and at the middle school they hand down similar sets of those plays so that the kids at the middle school can learn to run the same plays. So when they get to high school, they can pass that on. We need that same thought with education. We need to be thinking about how what is done at the lower levels gets built upward, and how it builds to what we're looking to have. And I think that vision of where we're going is what we are lacking right now. And so I really see that I want to build that vision and incorporate with the entire community in order to build that vision, because it's not just the board, it's not any individual within the administration, it's not any individual on the board that's going to build that. We need something that the entire community is bought into. And community buy-in takes all of the community as part of the planning process, and it takes all of us to agree to those goals. And when we have a vision that, when you close your eyes and you think or hear that vision and you nod along to it, that's what we all need in this whole community. And then everyone will be behind it and we can pull together. Can you repeat the second half of that question?
What do you plan on doing to improve district policies, improving academic performance and student engagement?
And I think that's where having a vision and having a strategic plan gives us something that every decision that we make can tie to it. And student participation is a key to it, as is community participation. And improving student engagement within that is showing them the value of it, showing them how they can connect their education to where they're going. Whether that is into the trades, whether that's on to college, or whether maybe it's some other path. I think we need to be thinking about all of those paths, and all of those paths are right. We need to help the students craft a path that will be good for them and engage them on it so that they make it their own. And I really look at that. As an educator, I do that with the college kids already, and spend a lot of my time working up with them one-on-one. We need to be doing the same thing with our students. Not to say we don't do it, but I think that we need to think about it more intentionally.
Thank you. The fifth question is for Dave Hicks. Dave, how would you encourage a collaborative relationship between Cottonwood Valley Charter School and the Socorro School District?
Tell you, I know a lot of the Cottonwood guys. Can you hear me okay?
Turn it on.
How's that?
Try.
Better? Do you hear me?
There you are.
All right. Okay, Cottonwood Valley, fantastic school. Recognize a lot of the parents in here, so thank you all for coming. I think Cottonwood does a phenomenal job. It's a very interesting question because there is some controversy right now. on how do we handle what's going on with Cottonwood in our schools. Cottonwood, obviously, Cottonwood Valley is doing a phenomenal job, but they're struggling paying their bills. That we put you up in here and talking to the superintendents up there, so they got rid of the superintendents, but the Santa Fe needs to help come in here and help take care of us. What I would do to take care of that is I would load up Cottonwood, I would load up Ron, I would load up Mike, and whoever wanted to go. I would drive to Santa Fe and say, here's our problem. We need help. We both need help. There is no reason that we should be fighting over 20 students in this town. It's crazy. It's crazy. We should get help, and we should be asking for help. Problem is, no one's asked for help yet for the situation. We've just kind of back and forth at each other. That's a phenomenal school. We need to help them, and we need to maybe learn something from them as well, and figure out what they're doing that's right, and get it into our system as well. So I think there's a lot we can learn from each other. We can help them, they can help us. Everybody on the
changes necessary to create
I think it all boils down to demographics of this small community. Every demographic about this community. There's different students from every part of this community. So can you repeat that question again?
So the question is, how would you work to implement policies to better hold the board accountable for policy changes necessary to create a safe environment for students? So what would you do to make our schools safe?
So policies that deal with everything that's happening in our small community. Making policies that will solve our community problems here. That we follow, they become viable. But that's a whole different type of demographic that doesn't focus on what's going on in Socorro. Yes, there's the same problems all over this state. I understand that. But every county has its own problems. Holding board members to make sure policies are followed. Let's make new policies. Let's revamp the old ones. Let's get rid of the old policies. Let's be a unified board that can come up with demographic in our community. Not just what's around Ted, what's around Bagley, what's around over by the railroad tracks, what's over behind us. Every single demographic needs to be so we have to face every student's barrier and problem. We don't do it with failure. So as a board, we have to be held accountable to every part of making local policies.
Seventh question is for Gregory Ezel. Gregory, what advisory committees might you establish to take advantage of local expertise and programs currently available in Socorro County to improve community engagement and participation with the board?
I would think in this county, use the people we have here. There's not a set group. We have, like people have mentioned about plumbers and stuff. I remember when we had a good vocational program at the high school where they coming in, and new plumbers coming in, auto mechanics coming in. Programs we do have out there. And we have places where we can try to get help from out of the community. And if we can get our community involved in them, so they can grow. And it's not going to be overnight, like you've all said. It's not something that happens today. You have the Lions Club, the Legionnaires and stuff like that. We have people who will work with us. Tech will work with us. And we've been missing a lot of that is because of budget cuts and finances going elsewhere. I don't know if that really answered what the question was asking, but that's
The eighth question goes to David Griego. David, what are your plans?
Please repeat the question.
Yes, sir. So what are your plans on addressing substance abuse and mental health problems through policy?
To our schools. We have to get them involved in the daily functions of what our schools do. Most often than not, we see a separation with that today. About the concerns that are being brought up nationally. In doing so, educating our parents, we can then work together to educate our students. Once we educate our students, then we can promote it and change the culture that we're currently living in today. That's how I see we can make that happen.
Lindsay, what do you think our school district can do?
I really think it's so critical to retain our educators, our administrators, and support staff to make the wheel turn every single day in our schools. I think that what we can do is involve, especially the educators, if we're making decisions that's parents in our community, but our educators within the system. I think that we need to, and recruiting qualified not only K through 12. to build the economy, to keep folks here and living here as well.
More questions to ask. So we will continue moving forward, starting back as we finished with Lindsay. Online coursework.
So I was just actually talking to someone prior to this starting, and we were talking about not only that building that relationship with but also encourage into vocational trades are just as important and valuable to our community and much needed in our community. So I think that we need to build the relationships with especially local state universities and community colleges. Bringing our students here to New Mexico Tech and keeping them here and local, and having them graduate from New Mexico Tech and creating professionals that work here in our county. I think those pathways are really critical, and we need to develop those community partnerships with those universities to create programs to build pathways to having our students stay local and go to our awesome universities.
How would you encourage more funding for vocational and trade educations in the school district?
First and foremost is community collaboration. Before we start looking at funding, we need to look at what's already there and not start building new things that are reinventing the wheel. But the next thing is working with the state. So during the legislative session, you get to go in and advocate for additional funding, and that's where a lot of that funding for vocational education comes from, whether it's coming in through the local school district, but also those higher ed partnerships. So whether it be New Mexico Tech or the vocational schools, they get a pocket.
Thank you, JC. The third question is for Greg Ezel. Gregory, how would you encourage a productive working relationship between the superintendent and the school board?
I think working with the superintendent and the school board, I know the school board is basically his. Not be dictated to, or not just dictate to them what they can do. And the pressure, I think, needs to be put on that we work on keeping staff, members, keep our things that we have here. The common ground. There's got to be a middle point, a middle place that will help everybody. Because you can't go to either extremes, or you just, I would say, you're tinkling in the wind. You can't do that.
Thank you, Gregory. The fourth question is for, according to research, according to research, schools that use out-of-school suspension have a higher dropout rate, which increases students' chances of entering the juvenile justice system. What other disciplinary techniques or programs in place of out-of-school suspension would you advocate for?
Okay, out-of-school suspensions. Well, I can tell you this, if you send my boys home and you suspend them, they're going, yeah, we got a day off, okay? So, you know, I think there's kind of an issue with that. Now, there's a fine line in that. I mean, I think if there's any dangerous situations going on, yeah, you know, we probably need to remove them. But I'm kind of an old school from that perspective. You know, I think there's all kinds of things we could have these kids do. Number one, there's study labs. You know, it's real easy to just get on the Power School these days and figure out, okay, Mike, you were messing around in the hallway, and let's get you in there and study Algebra 2, you know? Or, you know, Dave, you're having trouble with English, let's get you in there with English, you know? I've got a little bit of old school mentality. Hey, go get a hoe and hoe some weeds out there, you know? I mean, I know when I was a senior, I had to get a little razor blade and scrape gum off of a lock because Principal Wagner, you know, didn't like what I was doing. So, you know, but they didn't send us home. Home's a break. Home's getting out of it, you know? So I'm all figuring out, you know, how do we make it to where these kids get out, you know? We keep them in that environment where we can still watch them, where we can still keep our eye on them, where we can still make sure that they're not getting in more trouble just because they're out on the streets because mom and dad are at work and no one's watching them. That's a huge issue. That's a huge issue. So, you know, I would love to see all kinds of things studied. I'm not against it. When I drive up to the high school right now, it drives me crazy sometimes. You know, or any of the schools, I see weeds in places. I see all kinds of things that can be done. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Are all these kids that good that you can't hand them a hoe and they get in trouble and put them to work? You know, maybe you can't do that anymore, but there's something we can do, you know? But sending them home, I'm not for it.
Thank you, David. Our fifth question goes to Hamidi Soliman. How would you implement and hold the board accountable for policy changes to address substance abuse and mental health issues that have been made?
Well, I think the board has a responsibility to make sure of such a big problem not happening in the schools. And to hold, repeat the question again, to hold.
Yes, sir. So what we're looking at with this question is how would you hold the board accountable for the policy changes that they have made to address substance abuse? So how would you make sure they are doing what they say they're going to try to do?
If I'm a parent, I will look into statistics of the effect of such policies. And policies are there not to stay forever. They can still be modified to adjust. But again, there is something that we are not addressing in this issue. We have 4 major stakeholders on the process: students, families, parents, and school district and teachers. And we have a bigger issue, the money, okay? We can dream for solutions for substance abuse, but we don't have enough money to fund it. Then we can set policies, but if you can't implement it, you lack of funding, you are not going to go anywhere. I cannot hold them responsible, they don't have enough money in the budget. That's why I think, as I said, the parents are the key issue to start from elementary school, teaching our kids how to avoid such harm, and encourage them to play sports and to read science and to excel in their schools. Also, we need to work in the budget, and we cannot keep crying the budget is not enough budget, not enough budget. I think one solution is to go to Santa Fe, but not individually. We go to Santa Fe collectively, all districts in New Mexico, to go to Santa Fe and say, hey, listen to us, lobbying, or hire a lobby. I know the big schools in New Mexico, they have lobbying for the universities. Then why don't all school districts in New Mexico have a lobbying in Santa Fe to increase the budget? Because I think with increase of budget, the school board, everyone will be able to implement better any policy. Because if short of funding, this will be the first excuse. I don't have funding to do anything. Okay? Then I think we need to treat the source of the problem, which is budget, by seeking or lobbying the representative and the senators in Santa Fe. Hey, wake up, there's a big issue here. These are our kids. They are not getting from out of state. They are our kids here in New Mexico. And we need to handle this by giving us more money. More money will facilitate many things. Will facilitate better education, facilitate choice of better administration to implement the policies. The whole thing will start with money, okay? But short of money will be crippling everything, okay? You cannot judge anyone without, if they don't have short of money, if you don't have enough money for budget. That's why we need to work first on parents to raise good kids, and then the budget in Santa Fe collectively, not individually, collectively lobbying Santa Fe. Thank you.
Thank you. Our sixth question of round two, as they switch seats, goes to David Griego. David, how would you facilitate communication and access to the community at large to address community, business, and educational needs from the Socorro district and to encourage dialogue?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. So what we're getting at with this question is how can we better, as a school board, as a school district, facilitate communication and interactions with other businesses and things in Socorro to raise awareness and relationship to deal with educational needs in the Socorro School District?
Well, we need to increase, well, I shouldn't say we need to increase, we need to bring all people that are vested into our children to the table to discuss these matters openly in a public forum, to random days at school, any opportunity that we have to do so. More often than not, how often is our district reaching out to the community with those issues? We have online programs that are online services that provide that information. We have information that's being provided in terms of pamphlets and whatnot within the district. But what are we doing to engage those people within our community? What are we doing to engage our businesses? Everybody else that's invested, we're not failing at that. So my suggestion is that we bring everybody to the table openly to discuss these matters and get their feedback and develop a plan that will address those needs.
Thank you, David. Our seventh question goes to Adam Potts. Adam, what do you think our school district can do to support staff and create students to support staff and students struggling with mental health issues?
Well, I think it's noticing all the issues involved with staff, student, and bringing in programs, better programs, more programs, programs up the union, whatever's going to help. I'm a recovering addict. With addiction, brings a whole lot of different illnesses, mental, addiction alone. As a student in school, if you weren't a certain upbringing, and I'm speaking from something that was, that happened to me. If you're not from a certain upbringing, the program that's at hand don't work for you. So it's turned into where the students have to work for the program, not the program work for the student. So when we bring programs into this district, they have to work for every student, the entire student body, the entire faculty. These programs have to be what they need, not what the program needs. The only way anybody's going to come to any kind of resolution with this is bring in the proper programs, have the proper people that are going to implement these programs understand. Again, here we go, demographics. From the faculty side, from the student side, everybody's different. So if this student here, this faculty here, AB student, let's just put it this way, AB student, fits the program, but your faculty that voices her opinion a little too often, or your CD student, your F students, they don't fit the program. That's where the frustration sets in from a student, from a parent, from a teacher, from a custodian, from a bus driver, everybody in between. That's where it all sets in. But we ask why the parents ain't involved. Why don't the parents get involved? It's kind of hard when you don't fit the program. You're brought to a panel or in an audience and you're sat in the back. Well, the people that it will reach are sat right there. That's where we're failing. And that's where we've been failing since I was in school. I'm 44 years old right now. And it's still continuing but getting worse. So, we need to fix that. The program fits every single student, every single faculty member, every single bus driver, every single custodian, everybody in between. The programs have to come in and they have to fit everybody.
Thank you, Adam. The eighth question goes to Michael Hagather. I know you introduced yourself as Mike, so if I keep calling you Michael, I'm sorry. Socorro graduation rate was 64% in 2017. If elected to the school board, what is your solution for improving graduation rates?
I think we need to look at graduation rates across the board and not just on year to year. I think it's something we need to look at as how are students meeting different metrics along the way. I think that ultimately the issue of graduation started earlier. And so we need to be focused not just on the seniors and how we push the seniors across the finish line. I think that's an important piece, but we also need to be thinking about how we're getting students to within 100 yards of that finish line. As far as getting on the final 100 yards, if we focus on that and improving that ultimate graduation rate, I think we need to look at where we're losing those students. Are we losing them to things like out-of-school suspension? And with out-of-school suspension, certainly students that end up going down that road have a hard time finishing. I agree with what we said earlier on out-of-school suspension. When you're grading, you know by the time you give the first exam in the semester, you know which students are going to be in trouble, and you know directly what they're in trouble with. You know where they're missing homework. I think as teachers, we need to work, and I know it's extra work on us as teachers to engage those students or to identify those students to a early engagement individual within the district. They can then go get with them and say, look, you bombed test one. What can we do to change this around? We need to think about that early engagement, early intervention with the students to help them get to graduation. And I think there's some simple policies and simple approaches that we can do. Ultimately, it's the board's job to put some of these ideas on the table. The boots on the ground are the teachers and the administrators. I think the board has to give the tools to those administrators and the teachers. And I think it's the board's job to go out and find some of these ideas and bring these tools to the table. Whether that's dollars, people, whatever it is. It's the board's job to go find that, to support the teachers and to help the teachers carry those kids across the finish line if we have to.
Thank you. And our final question as we prepare for closing statements is for Carlos. Carlos, with the behavioral health provider shortage in our community, how can the school district recruit and retain their own qualified social workers to address the increasing behavioral health issues identified in our schools?
Well, we've been talking about it all night. It all goes back to funding. We need to go to Santa Fe and advocate for this funding that we need for these programs. to bring in these teachers to our school. I mean, we have great services here that, you know, for positive outcomes, and a lot of the other services that we have here that do a good job. You know, but we need more funding. It all comes down to funding through everything else that we do. I mean, everybody said it all night long. We can sit here and talk about every problem that we have at the school. Mental health is a big problem in our school, and we need the funding and we need the help. And that's basically it. And we would love to get all these teachers and everything in our programs, but like everybody said here, we need the funding and we need the help from Santa Fe. And we do go every January and we do talk to our senators and our representatives, and we try to do what we can, but it's hard to get them to get us the funding. We get shut down a lot from Santa Fe.
Thank you, Carlos. That will conclude our round 2. As we finalize this forum, we're going to do so having 3-minute closing statements from each of you. This statement order, closing order was randomized, so there was no favoritism in that. But this is your chance for 3 minutes to give your final remarks and to maybe discuss issues that you did not have the chance to touch on in your answers. So we do ask that you keep these 2-3 minutes. We will have our timer up here and we'll continue to hold the signs up for you. So as we did our randomized orders, we will start our closing statements with Mike Hargather.
Thank you.
When I look at Socorro, I look at a community that's focused on education. We have a nationally ranked and renowned university here. We have research centers, NRAO, the VLA, and a lot of other high-end science and businesses that are in this town. Why do we not have a school district that mirrors that? My vision for Socorro is to build our K-12 school district to mirror the high level of education that we have everywhere else in this community. We have examples of it. We have examples of it in this state. I look to Los Alamos. Why can Socorro not be Los Alamos? We have some similar population demographics. We have similar size. We need to look at this. What can we learn from all? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not. But with the strategic plan, with a vision for where we want to be, every day-to-day decision aligns with that plan. And then every day-to-day decision moves us incrementally towards that. And when we stop thinking about each day as its own set of problems and think about all of those days collectively as a set of problems we're solving over 10 years, we're going to get somewhere. And we're going to be able to turn this around. And I know that we can. And I think that, to me, the schools, our K-12 schools are or of this entire community. We have, the school district is one of the major employers. The other major employers in town, the hospital and tech, both critically involved in education and see the value of that education. If we build these schools, we are going to build this economy. And if we build this economy, and I want to see that. And we need our schools to be stronger. We need, as a community, to pull together on those schools to make them stronger. And we need leadership from the school board. And that is what I am proposing to be, is to be that leadership. And so please vote for me, Mike Hargather, for position 2 for the school board, to be the leadership to lead us forward for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Thank you for coming tonight.
Now, 2 closing statements is Hemdi Soliman. We'll turn it over to you.
Well, we have a school system here that we have to be aware of the major components in the system. and the relation between these components. Otherwise, we can make solutions that will never end to be fruitful. We have to understand what are the major components. We have home, parents, and we have the parents will fork students or bring students to schools. Then we have students, second factor, and then we have budget, which is going to bring better administration and better teachers. These are the five components in the system that makes the schooling system. Now we have a community as another factor outside that's going to be benefiting from the school system, even if you don't have child. Better schooling system will make the community safer, and no drugs in the streets, and you know the rest of the story. And if you have children, of course, you'll be benefiting from the educational system. It's good to have plans, nothing wrong with that. Strategic plans, when you plan, you have to plan high, you have to aim high, to be the best district in the country. But you have to realize that we have an immediate need for solutions. We have problems that needs immediate help. Then we have to seek bringing all the parties if we can, including students actually, to help. How can we remedy immediate needs for this district? Okay, a charter school, other schools, bring parents, students to. Why not students? All stakeholders have to be involved, administration, everybody, and the school board has to lead this role. Then when we identify the major components and identify the relation between them, then we are building solutions and planning for solutions based on what we have, okay, and identify the major component of the system. That's why we deal with each component and interrelation between these components. To get really good outcomes or to get good results from any strategic plan, you have to set outcomes and you have to evaluate it, assess it. And without assessment, we can't go anywhere. Then you assess every semester or every month or every year, whatever. You have to assess based on the outcome that you written before, and then from the assessment, you can see what are the negatives, what are the positives, and build the positive, and you try to minimize the negatives. But assessment is a key issue in the process, as budget also is a key issue, in my view. Thank you very much. These are position 3, right end. Remember my name and vote for me. Thank you.
Closing statements will be Carlos Vega. Carlos, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for finally saying my last name. I know Pastor Philip from way back though. Like I said before, my name is Carlos Vega. I'm running for re-election. I've been there for 4 years, and like I said before, 4 years is not enough time to get to where we want to be. I still got a vision for the future. All these guys are great candidates. We talked about, CTE programs. There's a program that I'm working on right now with State Forestry. It'll be implemented probably next year. It'll be for those seniors that aren't going to college. They'll become wildland firefighters. That's a program that I want to bring in. I've been trying to do this for the past 2 years. Now that we've got a steady FMO at State Forestry, and with the principal, I'm hoping to bring that in. There's a lot of stuff that we can do to support. And if I still will be in school, doing what I do every day. Thank you.
In closing will be David Griego. David, I'll turn it to you.
Once again, my name is David Griego, and I'm running for seat 1 for the school board election. And all I want to say is, look, I'm a simple man. I have a simple vision, and it's about bringing back the community and the district together. We need to reevaluate how we address things with our children and how we present ourselves to the community. We need to get these parents back involved. Homework, for example. We need to send more homework home to our parents, to our kids, so they can engage with their parents. Once we get that engagement going, we'll get more interest from those parents into our district. Secondly, I truly believe in long-term goals, such as collecting data and making plans for their future. I also believe in working with the opportunities that we have in Socorro, like New Mexico Tech. That's great and fine. But we need to address the problems that are present today. By not addressing those problems today, I don't care how much effort we put into tomorrow's long-term goals, we are not going to be successful for our children. In turns, our children are going to walk out of our school district with challenges that they have today. Nothing's going to change. So before we entertain anything outside of that, we have to look at today and address those problems front and forward. How are we going to do that? We need to reach out to the community, to the parents, to the people that are invested into our children, which is all of us. I spent a lot of time out there in the last couple of months talking to our community, and I hear a lot of, well, they need to do this, and they need to do that. At the end of the day, when we talk about they, that is me. That's the people sitting next to me. That they is us. We need to take back control of our lives, control of our community. We need to address those problems head on together as a unified district and town. Other than that, we're going to continue to see the same problems over and over again. My name is David Rego. I'm running for seat 1, and I would appreciate your consideration to be on the school board. Thank you very much.
Fifth in closing, we have Gregory Ezel. Gregory.
Okay, in closing here, my name is Greg Ezel. I taught here, I coached here, and the accountability needs to be put in place. When I was working with Gil Peralta in basketball, my duty as an assistant coach, but I'd go get a report every day from dime to Corto to find out who was tardy, who was absent that day, and if they were tardy, they had to have a good reason, or they couldn't practice. They had to sit on the sidelines. Now, if they had a doctor's note or they went to a doctor's office or meeting there, they get to practice and still not cost anything. They also had a good GPA. We were 3.5 or better in the high school from 9 through 12. Now, there were some low and we had some high ones. But we got the kids in class, got into graduation, and a lot of them done very, very well for themselves. Next thing I think, when they're talking about long-term suspensions and stuff, we used to have a program here called High, and that would take people who need extra help and were troubled, and they would be in a different setting. It was successful for them to be able to move on. And I was just a helper. The other one, I had to do the work to get there. That's what I think the teacher and the board has to be a helper of our students in our community to reach out there and have goals. And they need to be in a place where they can feel safe and do well.
Sixth in closing is Adam Paz. Adam.
Everybody here had, They touched on what we can do to make things better. You know, all you ever hear is school district is broken. School district is broken. It's always broken. No money. You know, come to find out, people in Santa Fe, they never see a soul from Socorro trying to bring out there, trying to bring new money in. We're stretching the allotted money in the fiscal year over and over and over, whether they take money away or they give us a couple extra dollars, whatever it is. We stretch this money over and over and over. No one's trying to bring in new money. Because with new money, hey, we can get more staff. With new money, we can bring in better, more electives, trades. That can work for the whole town of Socorro. If people can see that the Socorro district is putting out competent kids in electrical, plumbing, heavy equipment, construction, and not, they say they have an electrical in construction here, but the basics that they teach you are the different types of woods. And from what I heard, they make a birdhouse. Our CD students and even our F students, whether they finish all the way through or they drop out, starting at the junior high level, let's start them with just curriculum. Let's start them with curriculum that gives them a goal to get to high school. In high school, you can run equipment. You can learn how to become a heavy equipment operator, become certified. You can go do the welding level. From what I heard, they do have a real good welding course up at the high school. We can go and you can learn how to, your basic plumbing, carpentry, electrical. It gives them a want to go to high school. It gives them a want to maybe buckle down and do something here in junior high. Because I'm tired of always hearing, I've heard it a lot. It's always the same students. It's always the same ones. It's them. It's just them. They're the only ones that cause trouble. You know what? I was one of those. It's always him. I picked my own road. I did. But a lot of the times, that road, I was helped along that wrong road by faculty. And it happens. It does happen. When I graduated, the suspension thing, they were handing them out left and right, just like they are today. I had a principal in high school. His name was Bernard Seiss. I gave this man a lot of gray hairs in his black hair. A lot of gray hairs. But he never gave up on me. Miss Walker, Mr. Palmer. They never gave up on me. And when I graduated, Mr. Seiss, he was the principal there. He pulled me in and gave me
Yet all I hear is about all the negative stuff and all the negative articles being written and the horrible statistics and all the data. And oh my gosh, New Mexico's 50th in the nation in education, and Socorro's way down there in the bottom of New Mexico. Really? I'm telling you guys, there's been some amazingly successful people come out of this place, and even in this room, as I look out of there, this place can pop out some amazing people. And there's been a lot of success come out of here. So, bottom line is, what you guys are coming to watch us tonight for is you want to see somebody with a plan. Not all of us sitting up here saying, we need to get together and get a plan. I've got a plan and I've got a vision, okay? My vision is this. How about I want to be the education capital of the Southwest in 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years, yeah. I know that sounds a little bit crazy because all we've talked about is problems all night. Things going around here, you know, and we can tie into that. We are the only city in the state of New Mexico that has a New Mexico Tech. You've heard about that tonight too, okay? We've got to utilize it. They're one of the top colleges in the country. Let's jump on their cape and let's ride it. I've already had meetings with President Wells on how to do that. How do we recruit and keep teachers? I'll tell you how. We're going to put them underneath the umbrella of tech employees, and their children are now going to be the same as your tech employees, and they will have free tuition at tech. Okay? Now, next, how do we hold on to those teachers? How do they stay here? How do we recruit them here? Well, we've got a fantastic Master of Science program. Okay? Let's throw the Master of Science program in for the teachers as well. We're going to put billboards at New Mexico State, billboards at UNM, billboards at Eastern, and we're going to say, come teach in Socorro, New Mexico, and you get your free masters. Oh, and by the way, your child gets a free education. You're going to tell me our stack of resumes ain't going to be that big? It's going to be huge. Now we can pick and we can choose what we bring in. A quality of education is going to go through the roof. We're going to be able to say that we have more master's teachers per capita than anyone in the Southwest. Therefore, we are the educational capital of the Southwest. This is not that hard. We can do this. We need to teach our children to raise the expectations of themselves. We've had phenomenal people come out of here. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have Stanford, we have Harvard, we have Academy kids, we have West Point kids, we have Air Force Academy, we have Naval Academy. You kidding me? It's here. We just got to get it going. Thank you all for coming tonight. I've got my stop button. Probably a good thing. I'll keep around with that.
Is JC Trujillo. JC.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Savannah and Reese and all the sponsors that put this on. And thank you to everybody that showed up here. It really represents that our community is ready for change. It's ready to move education forward. Education is the foundation to a successful future. And in order to deliver on that foundation, we have to be ready to acknowledge some of our shortcomings, and we also have to be ready to acknowledge our successes. Earlier, Savannah pointed out that in 2018 we had a graduation rate of 74%, and that was very exciting to celebrate. And I was one of the first ones to jump up and say, great job, guys. But this past year in 2019, we dropped back down to 62%. And we need to be able to acknowledge why that is. We need to hold everyone accountable, from the school board all the way down to the students and the parents. Accountability comes within a strategic plan, and we've got a strategic plan. We've got to build on that plan. We've got to be able to have that vision that we share with our administration and we have to build a good environment for our teachers to be in. It has to be positive. They have to want to show up to work. They have to not be fearful of being involved. It has to be a positive environment. Next, we have to have increased access. We heard a lot tonight about the long-term suspension and how many students have fallen into that. We need to have the alternative environment for them to go to. And before we even introduce an alternative environment, we have to have those resources in place, such as physical and behavioral health services. We need to have access to those services. We need to have those providers ready in the school to deal with it. We can't have a 2-week waiting list or a 3-week waiting list for them to access those services. By that time, it's too late. Access to before and after school programs. We need to take advantage of some of these programs that the state is pushing down, such as K-5+. More students need to take advantage of that. Luckily, we offered that at 2 of our schools this year. However, we need more students involved in that. When we start talking about our graduation rate, well, it doesn't start at graduation. It doesn't start at the high school. It starts at middle school. It starts in our elementary schools. Our students have to be proficient. They have to be ready to move into that next level of education. Just last week, I attended a meeting with my daughter at the high school. 60% of our freshman class has 1 or more Fs. That's not acceptable. We have to be ready to deal with that. We have to deal with that at the middle school level. We have to deal with that at the elementary level. That's a cyclical problem. It didn't happen overnight. Next is our community collaboration.
That's the 3-minute mark. Good job.
Thank you.
Our final closing statement will be from Lindsay Lopez.
Again, thank you to the Socorro County Prevention Coalition and Rio Grande Valley Radio for organizing this forum. I also want to thank everyone that's running and of course everyone that showed up this evening, because Socorro shows up for our kids, that's for sure. Just recently, my daughter and I were lucky enough to go on a dance trip to Hawaii, and it's because of this community. We fundraised over $6,000 for us to be able to go and represent this community, and it just leaves me speechless how this community shows up for our kids. I'm a mother, a wife, and a lifelong educator, and a true public servant that wants to give back to our community and empower our community and create resilience. I think we need to get back to making decisions for our children, educators, our staff that supports our schools each and every day, with making those decisions with accurate data to develop strategic plans and policies and procedures. I want to see our children succeed, and I want to see more family involvement and our families feel welcomed in our schools, because that's really the key right there, is our community and our family to support our children. Most importantly, I'm a parent, and I hope to be an inspiration to my daughter. I hope to be an inspiration to other young women out there sitting in this audience, as well as watching, and in our community, to sit on a panel full of men, just like I am right now, and to become a leader. Lead our communities and empower our communities. I hope to see that for my daughter, and I hope to see it for other young women out there, and I hope that they see me and they can stand up and do that as well.
Thank you, Lindsay.
As we finish up tonight, I understand that there is some kind of confusion and need for clarity in terms of why we have 3 districts and how this voting is all going to pan out. Since JC has served on the school board and understands some of this, we've asked him to kind of explain what's going on and what you can look for within your voting ballots.
Absolutely, thank you, Philip. Yeah, there was a lot of questions about districts. I know the pamphlet showed that we're in districts, and the graph showed we're in districts. The school board election actually runs in 3 positions, and so this election there's 3 positions open. So when you get your ballot, you'll be able to vote for all 3 positions, so that you vote for 1 candidate per position. And so I'll actually just go ahead and start off, so that way we can just real quick just say our name and the position that we're in. But again, you can vote for any 3 positions. So I'm JC Trujillo, and I'm running in position 3.
I'm Lindsay Lopez, and I'm running in position 3.
I'm Hamdi Solomon. You will not find my name in the ballot right end. Please remember to fill the oval beside right end and write my name in the space beside the right end. Thank you. Position 3.
Yes, I'm Greg Gazelle, and I'm running in position 2. And I would appreciate your support. And thank you very much for being here tonight, giving up your time to come listen to 9 people, 8 guys. We didn't gang up on her.
Thank you.
My name is Carlos Vega, and I'm running for re-election in position 2. Thank you.
Michael Hargether, running in position 2. Thanks for coming up.
My name's Dave Higgs. I'm running in position 1. Wish we could answer all the questions, but I'll be here afterwards and answer all you guys want.
My name is David Griego, and I'm running in position 2.
Position 1.
Position 1.
Adam,
had to slip out. Adam Talas had to slip out, but we will also make mention that he is running in position or District 2. So that way you have the names and the districts they are running for. And I believe, JC, that everyone gets to vote for every position. It is not limited to where you live or any of the sort.
That is correct.
Correct. So on that note, as we close out, let me emphasize to those behind me and those online that your vote is incredibly important. It is part of what we have the chance to celebrate in this great nation we get to live in. And I encourage you all to go on November 5th, if not early voting, I don't know when that is, but go on November 5th and go vote. Encourage your neighbors to go vote. Encourage your friends, your family. Get the entire town out to go vote for this. It is absolutely valuable and important, of the utmost importance that we do this. Thirdly, before we close, there are surveys at the exit door. We would appreciate your opinion and the time just quickly to take those surveys. You may have been handed that as you walk in, so just make sure you cover that. And finally, we are all here because we love Socorro. And this is a testament to the future this town has. So do not leave here disheartened. Do not leave here sad. We are taking steps forward in incredible ways.
And we'll just fill in from all of us that early voting is open. You can go to the county courthouse in the county clerk's office, and you can vote at any time, Monday through Friday. And there will, from 8 to 5, and there will also be early voting on Saturday, November 2nd. Early voting will be open, and that is also the last day for early voting. So please vote before then or vote on November 5th.
Thank you. And with that, we are dismissed.